Hello, ladies. It is Tiffany of Clarity, Confidence, Courage, Women's Empowerment. And today I want to talk to you about a juicy topic, self-sacrificing. Now, I'm going to specifically talk about self-sacrificing in the context of why it is so negative when you're trying to move forward in life. I'll also be discussing how to know when you are self-sacrificing and how to stop. Before we jump into the content, ladies, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the channel to let other women know how important it is to make sure that you are taking care of yourself and putting yourself first. So let's jump into this content and talk about self-sacrificing. Now, when I talk about this idea of self-sacrificing, I'm talking about it in a certain context. You know, the whole concept of self-sacrificing is kind of on the lines of altruism. You know, this idea that you give up a piece of yourself or your entire self in order to help someone else. Now, ladies, there's nothing wrong with the overall general idea of self-sacrificing. You know, if you see a child run into the street and you run to go get that child out of harm's way and you get hit by a car, well, wow, that's an amazing thing. I hope that never happens. But if you did it, it's because you were willing to sacrifice your life for someone else. You cared about someone else. You know, if you're willing, as everyone is going through COVID right now, to wear a mask and to be mindful of washing your hands and trying to stay a certain distance from someone else, well, you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of your own freedoms in order to have compassion for all of humanity and to help others. That, in that context, there's nothing wrong with that. That is you showing compassion and care for the world, for your society, your community. What I'm talking about is when self-sacrificing is taken to the level of being a negative behavior, where you are literally sacrificing so much of who you are to benefit someone else, where it starts to have an effect on you, where you are devalued, where you are literally deteriorating your own life. So that is the type of self-sacrificing I'm talking about. Now, what does that look like? For a lot of people, self-sacrificing behavior can take place in relationships. You know, when you're married or you're in a partnership or romantic relationship or a friendship, where you are literally putting down everything that you want to do in order to please someone else. A lot of times this type of behavior turns into people pleasing. You're in a relationship with someone and, you know, you've made plans, you've got something to do, but they suddenly say, oh, I've got something I want you to do for me. And instead of you taking a stand and saying, well, I've already got something to do, you self-sacrifice, put everything that you want to the side, and you do what they want to do. That is a form of self-sacrifice. If you're at work and you've been working all day and you've made plans to leave at 5 o'clock so that you can go to whatever event that you have already planned for, but your boss comes in at the last minute and is like, you know, I really need this report done. Can you stay a little bit longer? I mean, I could ask Tina, but can you do it? And instead of you standing up and saying, well, no, I already have plans. I wish you had told me earlier. I could have made those plans, but I can't do it now. Instead of saying that, you self-sacrifice and you say, well, sure, okay, I can stay. And then you end up missing your event because you self-sacrificed for your boss who could have given it to someone else, but you allowed them to place that work on you. And ladies, trust me, I get it. I was a chronic self-sacrificer when I was married. When I was pretty much in any relationship I've ever had, I would literally put down every single thing that I was doing in order to appease my partner. If I had something coming up, I would stop and go help him out. If he needed me to just put everything down, I absolutely would. But I did it all the time. There's nothing wrong with doing that sometimes for your partner. But when you're constantly putting your own needs second or third or last place in order to appease someone else, that is where the level of self-sacrificing becomes toxic. And how do you know it's toxic? Because you start to feel resentful. You start to feel drained. Your body literally starts to manifest sickness and illness. You become tired. You become lethargic. You start to feel physically sick. Those are different signs to let you know your self-sacrificing has gone to a level where it has become negative and toxic for you. So where does this whole concept of self-sacrificing even come from when it comes to this negative behavior that sometimes some women display? Well, 9 times out of 10, It comes from childhood. Psychologists have studied this behavior for years and years and years. And the idea of self-sacrificing is this concept that you were raised to believe that if you gave and gave and gave of yourself to others, that you would then be rewarded or you would be considered a good girl. So for example, if you grew up in a household where you had a disabled parent and you were constantly taking care of them, you were constantly, even as a child, stepping into a caretaker role. And that parent, of course, was thankful because they may not have had anyone else, or the other adult in the house was not able to help them. They were working, or they were an addict, or whatever it may have been. So of course, that disabled parent looked to you to help. And at the time, you fulfilled a need and they were thankful. And they may have said things like, I'm so glad you're here. I couldn't make it without you. You're such a good girl. You do everything right. Mommy loves you because you give me so much of your time and your attention. Right? At the time, it seemed like a good idea. But what happened is that child-adult-parent dynamics begin to change. And so it set up this maladaptive behavior, of course, known as self-sacrificing. Now, if you grew up in a household where you had a parent that was an addict, again, that same behavior, you're having to watch your siblings, get them ready for school in the morning, making sure that their lunch is prepared. You're pretty much taking on that adult role because that parent who is in the household is not able to carry on that role. They're addicted to drugs or alcohol, or they're in a situation they just can't step up. So they look to you to be the leader, even though you're a child yourself. Again, that leads to adulthood constantly self-sacrificing and putting other needs before your own. So these are just examples of how in childhood you can be in a situation where you are dependent upon to sacrifice yourself. If you grew up in a very religious household where you were told that in order to be a good person of this certain religion, it's important to just give up everything that you want for others. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with altruism and being kind. But again, there is a level that you get to where you've given up so much of what you have and what you desire that it becomes negative. And you start to develop maladaptive behaviors that turn into self-sacrificing in adulthood. So again, these are just examples of how this negative aspect of self-sacrificing can be created in your childhood. So the question is, now that you realize that in your adulthood, how do you then change that behavior? Well, the first thing that you have to do to change this type of behavior is to realize that that is what you're experiencing. You're experiencing self-sacrificing behavior and it's making you ill. It's making you sick. It's becoming toxic. You're becoming resentful. So realization is the first part, and understanding that you must stop the self-sacrificing behavior. So that is the first thing you must do. You must come to a realization that you have given way beyond the limits of what is considered healthy and normal giving. The second thing that you have to do is start to ask yourself the question, how can I balance my giving and receiving behavior? Because clearly, if you're the type of person that's constantly giving, you're probably, on the other hand, not allowing yourself to receive. So you start looking at your life and asking yourself, where can I pull back some of my giving behavior, and where can I push or open up to receive more of the receiving and allowing behavior? So at what parts of your life can you look at and say, okay, I give a lot to my job. I think I'm going to start coming back and literally leaving at 5 o'clock. I'm not going to stay over. I'm going to tell my boss that I'm not going to be able to do it, or my coworker that I'm not going to be able to do it. I have plans, and I'm going to pull back on the amount of hours I put towards my job. On the flip side, when you're able to pull back those hours from your job, that leaves you open to receive other things. So maybe your receiving might be doing something nice for yourself, giving to yourself, fulfilling some needs and desires that you have for self. The other way to balance this out is to be very, very direct and expressive of your needs, whether it's in a relationship, a career, or your household. It's so important that you express what it is that you need and you desire. This isn't about keeping, kind of a checklist, like I did this for you, now you got to do this for me. No, it's not about that. It's about expressing what you need to your partner or your job or whatever it may be. Being very expressive and honest about your needs so that others can, number one, know that that's what you need, and number two, so that you can be real and honest with yourself around your needs. You need to be expressive, and it doesn't mean you have to be mean or nasty about it, but you need to be honest and open. And here's a little pro tip: write it out. Write a letter to the person that you're talking to before you actually say anything to that person. A lot of times when we write a letter and we are able to give ourselves time to write out what we want to say, it's so much better than going to someone and just word vomiting all over them, because then it may come out the wrong way. So if you're the type of person who has a hard time expressing herself, then write it out. Write a letter so you can get out all of your thoughts, and then literally read that letter to that person. Just say, hey, I have some things that I want to say, and I wrote a letter for you. I would like to read it to you so I can say exactly what I mean, and so it doesn't come off the wrong way. And someone that loves you is going to be open to that. Someone that truly loves you wants to know how they can fulfill your needs, how they can be there for you. If you express your needs to someone and they get angry and they get upset and they get irate about you expressing yourself and being honest and open, then you may need to start questioning whether this is the person that you want to spend your life with. Or you may start to look into couples therapy. And lastly, when it comes to this idea of self-sacrificing behavior, the biggest thing that you can do is set healthy boundaries. I will say it once, I'll say it twice, I'll say it 1,000 times. You need to start setting healthy boundaries, meaning that you need to literally start scheduling time in your calendar for yourself every single day, and not allow anything or anyone to take up that space. Once you start getting accustomed to giving yourself time, whether that be to go for a walk, give yourself, go get a massage, go to a class, just deep breathing, or just doing nothing, sitting on a couch and watching your favorite TV show. Once you allow yourself to give yourself time for self-care, for self-love, you will start to realize that people will respect your boundaries. People will understand that is her time, that is what she needs. I'll have to ask her later, or I'll get it from her later, or I'll ask someone else, because she has shown me through her actions that these are her boundaries and I will not cross them. That is part of this concept of healing yourself from self-sacrificing, setting up healthy boundaries and making sure that others respect those boundaries. So ladies, I really want to do this video because, like many of you, I went through a phase in life where I thought if I just self-sacrificed and threw myself in front of the virtual bus of life and allowed the bus to hit me so that other people could be happy, that people were going to love me more, and they were going to care about me more, and they were going to be more respectful, and my relationships were going to be more better, and they didn't. None of that happened. What happened was people got used to me being a doormat, and they continued to walk all over me. So I would love to save you that pain and that frustration by understanding how to have healthy boundaries, how to give yourself more self-care and self-love, and how to establish within your relationships your give and receiving behavior, what it means to give, what it means to receive, and how to balance that out. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely give me a thumbs up, share this video, and definitely subscribe to the channel. And hey, if you're in a position where you know the self-sacrificing behavior that you have displayed over the years is starting to become toxic and is starting to take away from your level of joy and happiness and peace in your own life, then let's have a chat. It may be time for us to talk through your challenges and see exactly where this self-sacrificing behavior has come from and how it can be mended so that you can go on forward and live a life that you love. Just click the link below to get on my calendar for a free strategy session coaching call. Maybe we'll work together, maybe we won't, but either way, you're going to get some nuggets of wisdom that are going to completely change your life. All right, ladies, I'll talk to you later. Bye.